You mentioned Paul. Talk to me
Yes.
about your first. What's your first impressions of Paul?
Well, it's funny. I met Paul when I was traveling. When I first started, 86, 87, he was doing photography. And we did a show in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Um, I want to say it was Rob Russin. But the main event was the Road Warriors against Sullivan and Abbey. And Paul was there taking pictures. And that's the first time I met him. He comes bouncing into the locker room, and Paul voice, and bouncing from guy to guy and working everybody there. And I'm thinking about, I didn't know who he was at that point. I'm thinking, who is this guy? But he talked to me, and he was good. He was always good, always friendly and good to me. And of course, I remember that story to this day. But that's the first encounter I had with him. And then I saw him a lot up and down Jersey when I was traveling with Dick as the first couple of years. And of course, he went on to other things. But he was an interesting character, even first impression.
What about as far as a coworker? Because at first he wasn't the boss, and then as a boss.
Yeah, no. When the first night he showed up in ECW, nobody had any idea he was coming in. We were at Cabrini College taping TV, and there he was sitting. He came over and he hugged me and he said hello, and we're talking. We still had no idea really what he was doing. Todd was still the boss at the time, and Paul was like his booker. But even it's funny. He's always got a story, or he's always got a plan or a scheme. He's just that kind of guy. Even back then, you think, man, is this guy just lying all the time? And turns out, yeah, he is lying all the time. As years went on, I worked closer and closer with him. If we weren't having a conversation, I didn't think he was lying, and I thought there would be something wrong. But as far as a wrestling mind, top three in ever, in my opinion. The guy is a genius when it comes to pro wrestling. I mean, just look at him today. He's involved in probably one of the greatest storylines in recent memory for WWE, and he's got his hand well into it. And even to this day, he's loved and revered by everybody. Everybody goes to him for advice and stuff like that. But wrestling mind, unbelievable person.
Did he ever give you any advice that stuck with you?
It's another good question. It was he did a match with Tully. We brought Tully Blanchard in ECW, and it was him and Shane for the title at the arena. And Tully wasn't a very friendly guy either. Very tough to actually talk to that night. Shane was kind of standoffish with him. He was really pain in the ass. Didn't want to do the job to Shane. Finally talked him into doing it. We went into the ring. They were in the ring, I'm going to say, maybe 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and he goes right to the finish. And I froze. I didn't count to 3. I counted 1, 2, kind of made it look like he kicked out, which he didn't, and he was pissed. I was first of all, I was stunned that he was doing it, and you can see the frustration on Shane's face. And so we worked a few more minutes, and they went back to the same finish. We finished. He went back. He goes right to Paul, complains to Paul, and I went right in there because I was upset about it because it pisses me off when I screw something up like that. And I apologized to Tully. He kind of just blew me off and walked. And I said to Paul, "I'm so sorry." I didn't get "I'm sorry" out of my mouth. And he said to me, "Don't ever be sorry for something that's not your fault, especially when it comes to somebody like that." And he walked away. And that stuck with me to this day.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. What was your relationship like with Eddie Gilbert?
Actually got along well with Eddie. Eddie was very, for all his demons and off the field, we'll say, problems. Another great mind, unbelievable wrestling mind. I kind of connected with him right away because he was looking for somebody to help him connect with the guys in the locker room, some of the old TWA guys that were there. And because I think a lot of guys were intimidated by him and didn't know how to approach him. And it was kind of like an in-between with a lot of guys. So I ended up having a good relationship with him throughout his stay there, just trying to help him feel the locker room out and then get more comfortable with everybody that was there.
How was the talent with Eddie as far as him being the booker? Anyone have a problem with his booking style?
Well, you always have somebody that's complaining about something, but nobody really. No, not nothing that comes to mind. Nobody really had a big issue with him, other than maybe how he would come to work sometimes, a little roughed up for whatever reason, and kind of tough to deal with. He would disappear at night sometimes, and tough to get to him. I mean, that was probably frustration throughout the whole locker room as far as that went, because he was, as you can imagine, he was tough to pin down and get him sober, let's say.
How long was Eddie there?
He was there 2 years. I want to say 2 years, because it was the first big show we had was the Clash at the arena. It was him and Terry Funk in the main event, and I think he was going quite not long after that. And yeah, he just was him and Todd. It just wasn't working.
Is this a full-time gig for you at this time?
It was never. Wrestling has never been a full-time gig for me. I never bought into. I see it all the time with guys. I mean, everybody loves the business. You love the business. Everybody wants to make it big. It's really tough to make it big and make this a full-time job. And I don't know. I hate to pat myself on the back, but I guess I just always saw that. Probably as early as talking with Dick Worley about it too, that it would be tough to do it. And then always, and I say it to this day, and he used to say it to me, always have a plan B, because the wrestling business is not forever. You better have something when you're done. So I was lucky to have 2 full-time jobs. I'm actually with my current one now for 34 years, who have been great with me, being able to get to shows on the weekends, leave a little earlier on Thursdays, Fridays, be there for the weekends. But I never, even when WWE offered me a deal after the second one-night stand, money would have been great, but you got to pay your expenses and got to get health insurance. And at that time, I had 2 young kids and a good job, benefits, the whole deal. I said no, and even that was probably the closest I came to actually really, really thinking about it. But thank God I didn't, because a couple of years later it was done, and half the guys that they did sign there, more than half, they got rid of them shortly long afterwards.
You talk about being a ref. People don't understand how important a ref is to a match. When I had Jim Mullen on about 2 months ago, I said to him, give me the choice between having a green opponent or a green ref. I'll take a green opponent, because I can work around him. I can't work around a terrible ref.
Yep.
You know, I mean, were you shocked by all the real responsibilities that a ref's job entails?
Yeah, I don't know about shock, but yeah, I thought I knew everything, but I didn't know everything when I first started. And yeah, and especially when I started doing TV, that's a whole other animal.
Right.
But just doing indie shows, you really didn't have a lot of TV. Nowadays, everybody's taping everything, so you have to be almost like you're working TV all the time. But yeah, it's very involved, and to this day, it bugs me when they pull a buddy out of the locker room and throw a striped shirt on him and jump in the ring and go do this match. And I mean, they'll bring in some WWE legend for ridiculous money who can barely get in the ring, but you won't take care of a referee who's probably, you need a ring, you need wrestlers, and you need a referee. Without it, you're going to look real silly in there, especially if somebody has no idea what they're doing.
Who's the boxer from Bayonne that the Rocky story was based on?
Oh God, the WIP was just talking about that the other day. I forget his
Chuck
name.
Something. Chuck?
Yeah.
Chuck Wheeler? Chuck Wepner?
Maybe.
Chuck Wepner.
God,
I think
we
it was
just
Chuck
talking
Wepner.
about this the other day on sports radio down here.
I think it was Chuck Wepner. He used to come do the special guest referee thing before.
Right.
And it'd be me versus Crowbar. And we're always the high flying match. You know, we need the 1, 2. No.
Right.
Every time we went recovery, count to 3.
Oh,
so
no way.
Chuck, that's not it. You go 2. So I said to Crowbar, I said, just don't cover me till the end.